In the spring of 2025, a palpable tension filled the air across the United States. It was not the usual political rhetoric or celebrity scandals that gripped the nation but the imminent ban of TikTok, the platform that had reshaped the cultural landscape in unimaginable ways. Millions of creators, young and old, stood on the brink of losing their creative outlet. Among them, a young musician named Layla Summers looked at her modest following of 50,000 with despair, wondering if her dreams would be silenced before they even began. But little did she know, her idol, Taylor Swift, was about to become a beacon of hope. Taylor Swift had always been more than a musician. Known for her poetic storytelling and unyielding resilience in the face of adversity, she had a unique ability to connect with people on a deeply human level. Over the years, her advocacy for artists' rights, mental health, and gender equality had cemented her as a voice of the people. So when the news of the TikTok ban hit her ears, she knew she couldn't stand by silently. "I've seen this platform change lives," Taylor said during an impromptu live stream on Instagram. Her voice carried a calm but firm resolve. "It's not just about silly dances or lip-syncing videos. It's about connection, creativity, and giving people a chance to be heard. We can't let this slip away." Her words ignited a spark among her 300 million followers. Fans from all walks of life began to rally, sharing their TikTok success stories, and the hashtag #SaveOurStage started trending within hours. Yet, Taylor knew words alone wouldn't be enough. Action was necessary, and she was ready to lead the charge. Swift's first step was assembling a coalition of artists, creators, and influencers who shared her vision. Selena Gomez, Billie Eilish, and even YouTube pioneer Casey Neistat joined forces to amplify the message. Together, they organized a virtual concert titled Voices United, streaming across multiple platforms to raise awareness about the ban's implications. The event was a masterstroke of creativity. Taylor opened with an acoustic rendition of her hit song, The Archer, reimagined to reflect the uncertainty and fear gripping creators. Her voice trembled slightly as she sang. "And I cut off my nose just to spite my face. I hate my reflection for years and years." As she finished, she looked into the camera with a piercing gaze. "This isn't just about TikTok. This is about protecting spaces where people can express themselves, free from fear." Layla Summers watched the concert from her tiny apartment in Kansas City, tears streaming down her face. Inspired, she grabbed her guitar and began composing a song about resilience, hope, and the power of unity. She uploaded the rough version to TikTok, knowing it might be one of her last posts on the platform. To her astonishment, the song went viral overnight, catching Taylor's attention. Layla's song, Echoes of Hope, is what this movement is all about, Taylor wrote in a heartfelt Instagram post the next day. "She's why we're fighting, to make sure voices like hers don't get lost in the noise." Taylor's endorsement of Layla's song catapulted the young musician into the spotlight. Over the next few days, Echoes of Hope spread like wildfire, with creators remixing, duetting, and using the track as the backdrop for videos sharing their own struggles and triumphs. The song became an anthem of resilience, resonating with everyone from small-town dreamers to top-tier influencers. Meanwhile, Taylor and her coalition were hard at work behind the scenes. They reached out to policymakers, urging them to reconsider the ban. "This is about more than just an app," Taylor argued during a Senate hearing on digital freedom. Dressed in a simple white blouse and jeans, she looked every bit like the determined advocate she had become. "It's about preserving the creative economy and protecting the livelihoods of millions of Americans." Her speech was met with mixed reactions. Some senators nodded in agreement, while others dismissed her as just another celebrity meddling in politics. But Taylor was undeterred. She knew that meaningful change often began with planting seeds of awareness. The hearing was streamed live, and millions tuned in to watch. Social media exploded with support for Taylor's words, and #TaylorForFreedom began trending worldwide. Yet, Taylor wasn't interested in fame or accolades, she wanted results. To that end, she launched a grassroots campaign to educate the public about the broader implications of the TikTok ban. Working with experts in technology, economics, and digital rights, she helped produce a series of short, digestible videos explaining how the ban could harm small businesses, stifle innovation, and limit creative expression. These videos, shared across all major platforms, featured not only Taylor but also everyday people like Layla, a local baker who relied on TikTok for marketing, and a high school teacher who used the platform to make math engaging for her students. The stories were raw, authentic, and impossible to ignore. Amidst this whirlwind of activism, Layla received a life-changing call. Taylor invited her to perform at a rally in Washington, D.C., organized to coincide with the final congressional debate on the TikTok ban. Nervous but determined, Layla accepted. On the day of the rally, the National Mall was a sea of creativity. TikTok creators demonstrated viral dance routines, artists painted murals, and musicians filled the air with songs of hope. Taylor took the stage, guitar in hand, and addressed the crowd. "We're here today because we believe in the power of stories," she said, her voice steady but emotional. "And we're not just here to protest. We're here to propose solutions. Let's work together to address the valid concerns about data privacy without erasing the opportunities this platform provides." When Layla stepped onto the stage, she felt her legs tremble. But as she began to sing Echoes of Hope, the crowd's energy lifted her fears. By the final chorus, thousands were singing along, their voices creating a harmony that seemed to reverberate across the Capitol. As Layla strummed the last chord, Taylor joined her on stage, giving her a warm hug. "This is what it's all about," Taylor whispered, her eyes glistening with pride. The rally at the National Mall became a historic event, one that shifted the momentum of the movement. News outlets, influencers, and even lawmakers couldn't ignore the overwhelming turnout or the passionate voices calling for change. The sight of Taylor Swift, one of the biggest global icons, standing side by side with grassroots creators like Layla, became a defining image of the campaign. Behind the scenes, Taylor worked tirelessly with her coalition to push for a constructive dialogue with policymakers. Instead of simply opposing the ban, they presented a detailed proposal aimed at addressing the government's concerns over data privacy and security. The proposal included stricter regulations on data storage, transparency in algorithms, and protections for user rights, all measures designed to preserve the platform while safeguarding national interests. One of Taylor's most significant breakthroughs came during a private meeting with Senator Rachel Harrington, one of the key proponents of the ban. Initially skeptical of Taylor's involvement, the senator was disarmed by her sincerity. "I'm not here as a pop star," Taylor said, looking Harrington directly in the eye. "I'm here as someone who's seen firsthand how platforms like TikTok change lives. But I also understand your concerns. Let's find a way to address them without silencing millions of voices." The meeting lasted over an hour, with Taylor sharing stories of creators like Layla and explaining the far-reaching implications of the ban. By the end, Senator Harrington agreed to reconsider her stance and proposed amendments to the legislation based on the coalition's recommendations. As the weeks passed, the movement gained more traction. Celebrities like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Oprah Winfrey, and Lin-Manuel Miranda lent their voices to the cause, amplifying the message to audiences across the globe. At the same time, creators from all walks of life continued to share their stories, painting a vivid picture of what was at stake. One particularly powerful moment came when a young girl named Mia, a 10-year-old with cerebral palsy, posted a video explaining how TikTok had given her a platform to inspire others. "I might not walk like everyone else," Mia said with a bright smile, "but on TikTok, I can dance with the world." The video went viral, reaching millions, including Taylor. Touched by Mia's courage, Taylor invited her to join a live stream where they discussed the importance of inclusivity and empowerment. "You're the reason we're fighting, Mia," Taylor said, her voice cracking with emotion. "You've shown us all what it means to shine." Finally, the day of the congressional vote arrived. The coalition's efforts had turned the tide, and the proposed amendments were being seriously considered. Taylor, Layla, and several other creators were invited to witness the proceedings in person, their presence a testament to the power of unity and persistence. As the votes were tallied, the room was filled with palpable tension. Then, the announcement came: the amendments had been approved, and the ban was officially off the table. Instead, a new framework would be implemented to ensure data security while preserving the platform's accessibility and freedom. The chamber erupted in applause, and Taylor felt a wave of relief wash over her. She turned to Layla, who was smiling through tears. "We did it," Taylor said, pulling her into a hug. "You did it. Your voice mattered." The aftermath of the victory was nothing short of transformative. Taylor's coalition continued to advocate for digital rights, expanding their focus to other platforms and issues. Layla, now a rising star in her own right, signed a record deal and dedicated her debut album, Echoes of Hope, to the movement that had changed her life. As for Taylor, she returned to her music, but her activism remained an integral part of her identity. In interviews, she often spoke about the TikTok campaign as one of her proudest moments. "It wasn't just about saving an app," she told Rolling Stone. "It was about reminding people that their voices matter, no matter how small they might seem. Together, we can create ripples that turn into waves." The legacy of the movement endured far beyond the victory itself. It inspired a new generation of creators, activists, and leaders to stand up for their beliefs and work together to effect meaningful change. And at the heart of it all was Taylor Swift, a symbol of resilience, compassion, and the unshakable power of unity. In the months following the victory, the ripple effects of the movement were felt far and wide. Schools began incorporating lessons on digital literacy and the power of online platforms into their curriculums, using the TikTok campaign as a case study. Young people were encouraged to think critically about the role of technology in their lives and how they could leverage it for good. Taylor Swift, though proud of what had been accomplished, knew that the battle for creative freedom was far from over. She established a foundation called Voices Amplified, dedicated to empowering creators, advocating for digital rights, and funding programs that helped underrepresented communities share their stories. Layla Summers was one of the first to join the foundation as an ambassador, her story serving as a testament to what was possible when people united for a cause. Meanwhile, Layla's star continued to rise. Her debut album, Echoes of Hope, became a commercial and critical success, with one track, Unbroken Chain, climbing to the top of the charts. The song, co-written by Taylor, captured the spirit of their movement. "We are threads in a tapestry, woven by dreams. Bound by the echoes of what might have been. Though they tried to tear us apart at the seams. We stood together, and we learned how to win." The song became an anthem not just for TikTok creators but for anyone who had ever felt silenced or underestimated. At concerts, fans held up lights during the chorus, creating a sea of stars that left Layla in tears every time she performed. Taylor, too, found a new depth of purpose in her music. Her next album, Resonance, was a deeply personal exploration of resilience, unity, and the power of storytelling. Critics hailed it as one of her most poignant works, and fans embraced it as a soundtrack for their own journeys. The album's lead single, Beacon, was directly inspired by her experience with the TikTok movement. In the darkest hour, a spark begins to glow. A whisper turns to thunder, and the world will know. One light can guide the way, one voice can start the fire. Together we'll rise, reaching higher and higher. The song's music video featured clips from the rally at the National Mall, interwoven with footage of everyday creators who had used TikTok to change their lives. Layla made a cameo, strumming her guitar on a rooftop as the sun set behind her, a symbol of the light that can shine even in the darkest times. The success of the movement also inspired others in the entertainment industry to take action. More celebrities began using their platforms to advocate for social causes, recognizing that their influence could be a powerful tool for change. It became a trend not just to raise awareness but to actively participate in finding solutions. One particularly touching moment came when Mia, the 10-year-old girl with cerebral palsy whose video had gone viral, met Taylor in person. The meeting was arranged as part of an event for Voices Amplified, and Mia's face lit up with joy as Taylor knelt to give her a hug. "You're my hero," Mia said, her voice trembling with excitement. "No, Mia," Taylor replied, her eyes shining with emotion. "You're mine. You reminded me why this fight was worth it." As years passed, the story of the TikTok movement became part of the cultural fabric. Documentaries, books, and even college courses explored how a diverse coalition of creators, activists, and artists had come together to protect a platform that had given so many a voice. Layla's story, in particular, became a source of inspiration for aspiring musicians around the world. Taylor Swift remained a guiding light, continuing to blend her music with her advocacy. At a benefit concert for Voices Amplified, she delivered a message that encapsulated everything the movement had stood for. "When we fought for TikTok, we weren't just fighting for an app. We were fighting for creativity, for connection, and for the belief that everyone's voice matters. We proved that when we stand together, we can make the impossible possible. And that's something worth singing about." Years after the movement's success, its legacy continued to grow. Universities held seminars and workshops titled The Digital Resistance: How a Generation Saved Creativity, often highlighting Taylor Swift's leadership as a case study. Professors analyzed how the combination of grassroots storytelling, celebrity influence, and strategic policymaking created an unprecedented cultural shift. Taylor, always humble about her role, often redirected the spotlight to the creators who had inspired her. "I was just one voice among millions," she said during a keynote address at a digital rights summit. "What made this movement powerful wasn't me, it was the collective strength of people who believed in something bigger than themselves." Layla Summer's career flourished in ways she could never have imagined. She headlined her first world tour, aptly named Threads of Hope, which sold out in record time. At every show, she made it a point to dedicate her performance of Echoes of Hope to the community that had lifted her up. One night, during her concert in New York City's Madison Square Garden, Layla paused to address the crowd. 2 years ago, I was just another girl uploading songs to TikTok, hoping someone might listen. Today, I'm standing here because of all of you, and because someone I looked up to believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself." The audience erupted into cheers, and Layla invited Taylor Swift onto the stage as a surprise guest. The two performed Unbroken Chain together, their voices weaving a harmony that left the crowd mesmerized. Mia, the young girl with cerebral palsy, became a motivational speaker and advocate for people with disabilities. With the help of the Voices Amplified Foundation, she started a series of workshops called Dancing Beyond Limits, which encouraged children with disabilities to express themselves through art and movement. Taylor stayed in touch with Mia, often attending her events and even featuring Mia in her documentary, Together We Rise, which chronicled the TikTok movement. In one particularly moving scene, Mia said, "Taylor didn't just fight for an app, she fought for people like me to have a place in the world. And now, I get to help others find their place too." The movement didn't just influence the United States, it sparked similar efforts worldwide. Countries facing challenges to creative freedom began forming their own coalitions, inspired by the success of Taylor's campaign. In India, a group of young creators launched a platform called Kala, which means art in Hindi, to support grassroots artists. In Brazil, musicians began using TikTok to preserve traditional folk music, ensuring it reached a global audience. Taylor often collaborated with these international initiatives, lending her voice to amplify their causes. "Creativity knows no borders," she said during a global live stream event. "And neither should our support for one another." In 2030, on the 5th anniversary of the movement, Taylor Swift and her coalition were awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for their work in preserving digital rights and fostering global unity. The announcement stunned the world and brought Taylor to tears during her acceptance speech. "This award isn't for me," she said, clutching the gold medal. It's for every person who dared to dream, who shared their story, and who believed that their voice could make a difference. This is proof that when we listen to each other, truly listen, we can achieve the extraordinary. Decades later, children learned about the TikTok movement in history classes. Taylor Swift's name was immortalized not just as a musical icon but as a leader who had stood up for creativity and connection in a time of uncertainty. Layla, now a celebrated artist and philanthropist, reflected on those pivotal years in her memoir, Harmonic Resonance. The TikTok movement wasn't just about saving a platform, she wrote. It was about saving a piece of ourselves, the part that dreams, creates, and connects. And for that, I'll always be grateful.